Hey foodies, let's make a sweet potato pudding. Of course, I have my Jamaican sweet potato and yellow yam. I washed them, peeled them, and then I grated them. Now, of course, you could use a blender, but for this pudding, I wanted to grate it to get that home style texture that I'm used to from back home. A lot of people use blenders. If you want to, you can. I do have my other video where I use a blender if you want to check that out. All right. So I'm just going to mix the yam and the sweet potato. Now I'm going to be mixing together some coconut milk, and this is freshly made coconut milk, but you could use the canned one if you want to. To this I'm adding melted butter, some salt, of course, you need to balance that sweetness, vanilla, lemon juice, and this is freshly squeezed, and then spices. You have cinnamon, allspice, nutmeg, cloves. I will be leaving all the info in the description box below the video. If you want to leave the sugar out, that's fine, but I like to add some brown sugar. Sweet potato is naturally sweet, and if you're diabetic, you might want to leave it out, but I never make it without brown sugar. If you want to add a little bit of molasses, you can add a little molasses. Sometimes when I do the pudding, I add some of the shredded coconut from what I, use to make the coconut milk. And then just add in all the liquids. Remember that this is my grated sweet potato pudding recipe. If at this point you're like, you know what, I don't know if I want to have any texture, I want it completely smooth, just pop it in the blender, or you could use a hand blender. All right. And now I'm adding a little browning. You can add a lot more if you want your pudding to be darker. All right. Next, I'm going to add some white rum and some rum soaked raisins. These are just some raisins I had soaking for my Jamaican Christmas cake. So I just took out, maybe just under a quarter cup or a quarter cup. Just mix that in along with the white rum. And if you do have some red label wine, you can put a little bit in there as well. Now go ahead and add some sifted flour. And to avoid those lumps, you're going to go ahead and mix it in gradually. As you can see from the batter here, it's going to be a more dense type of pudding. If you want it to be a little more loose in texture and extra soft, you can add a little more coconut milk, or you could just use the recipe that I have for that softer pudding. And then I'm going to fold in some raisins, and I dusted these with flour so they don't sink in the pudding. All right. Please make sure that your oven has been preheated to 350 degrees already. All right. And then you can use spring form to get it out easily, or a regular cake tin. Just grease it, add some flour lightly dusted. I forgot to do that, but that's fine. And then pour in your mixture. And then you're going to bake this at 350 for 1 hour. Cover it with some foil wrap and a pot cover. So that just helps to keep it nice and moist with all that steam. And then you're going to uncover it and then bake for 35 minutes. All right. So first hour, cover it with foil. If you prefer parchment paper, that's fine. Then after the hour, remove it and continue to bake. While the pudding is in the oven, then we're going to make what we call the custard top or the soft top. There's so many names for it. It's just this syrupy coconut mixture that's on top of the pudding that makes it extra nice. So we're simmering coconut milk, nutmeg, cinnamon, brown sugar, a little salt. You can put some vanilla. Just simmer it for about 8 minutes. And it's a low simmer. All right. You don't want it to boil completely out, right? Then Take the pudding out of the oven, so that's after an hour and about 35 minutes. Go ahead and pour that coconut mixture on top. I definitely prefer to have my pudding with the soft top. It just, adds that more comforting vibe to it. It's really delicious. After you pour on all of that, you're going to put it back in the oven for about 20 to 30 minutes. And that's going to help it to caramelize and just seep into the pudding a little bit. And here we go. The pudding is all done. I like to let it sit overnight if I want a firm slice. But if you don't mind, you can go ahead and scoop it. It's going to be really soft, all right? I just prefer to let it rest a little bit if I want a firm slice. So I let it sit overnight. And here we go, because it has cooled down completely the next day. I cut into it and it's a nice firm slice. So if that's what you're feeling for, just wait till the next day. It's going to be nice and firm, and you're going to see those bits of raisin and coconut in the slice. The texture is not completely smooth. So if you really want that nice texture that reminds you that you're eating that sweet potato with the coconut, this is great for that. I love my pudding warm, so I still had to heat it up in the microwave, and it is so delicious. As I said, it's not completely smooth. You can see some of those little shreds in there, so you do have that little texture throughout the slices of pudding, but it is so flavorful and reminds me of home, because most of the puddings I ate growing up, they weren't completely smooth. Of course, feel free to check out my other sweet potato recipe where I blend the sweet potatoes instead of grating them. Thank you so much for watching, foodies. Please remember to check out the description box below the video. You're going to get the list of ingredients that I used. Look at that yummy pudding. Look at that. So good. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.